Good evening and welcome to the Sound Off Show. My name is Linda Kirker. I host the program and thank you so much for joining us tonight. I hope you're enjoying the global warming that we're experiencing right now. Ho, ho, ho. I'm not a believer in man-made global warming, so forgive me for that. A couple of quotes that I'd like to share for starters. This is from Abraham Lincoln. Quote, "The philosophy of the classroom today will be the philosophy of government tomorrow." That's a frightening thought. And also one quote from Daniel Webster. Quote, "Good intentions will always be pleaded for every assumption of authority. It is hardly too strong to say that the Constitution was made to guard the people against the dangers of good intentions. There are men in all ages who mean to govern well, but they mean to govern. They promise to be good masters, but they mean to be masters." Unquote. So, with that, going to start tonight just by introducing my guests and see where it goes from there. I have two gentlemen here who were on the program before, and I love having them on, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy them, and I hope you'll listen heartily to what they have to say, and then you can think for yourself. So, to my immediate left is Andy Durfee, and to his left is Jim Bilodeau. So welcome, fellas, to the program.
I have to correct you on one thing.
What did I say?
It's no longer global warming. It's now climate change because it got too cold in the winter and they couldn't prove their theory. So they changed it to climate change.
Yeah, it didn't fit what they were trying.
Global warming wasn't working.
That's true. You are so right. Thank you for the correction. I stand corrected. So who would like to start? I know you both have things you'd like to talk about. What's going on in Vermont or nationally? Take your pick. You want to start?
I can. I guess one of the things that just came out for me, I got a few things, but...
one at a time.
Right. This bill that just got passed in New York, I think it was yesterday or the day before, where they're now legalizing abortions till the last day. And
full 9 months.
I wasn't happy when Scott passed the marijuana bill in the state of Vermont. Mm-hmm. And I give him a little credit because he signed it into law in a private chamber. He didn't do it publicly because he knew it was a controversial bill. But if anybody saw the news yesterday with Muriel Como, they were over there high-fiving, clapping, celebrating the death of babies.
At 9 months.
At 9 months. And if anybody saw this...
it's frightening.
It's murder. It's pretty scary when you see somebody...
It's like ISIS cutting off a head.
Well, for me, I'm a father of 2 adopted children. Mm-hmm. And so... I'm a pro-lifer, and to see that on TV was despicable yesterday.
And there are so many people who, for one reason or another, can't have children, or they get married later in life and decide they'd like to, have a child. Well, adoption is a wonderful option.
Sure it is.
Not only for the parents, but for the children particularly. And you know that.
And look at you see my grandchildren in church every Sunday, and I mean, I wouldn't have that if they were aborted at a young age. And so I guess the thing of it is I'm not going to get into the controversy of that, but to sit there and celebrate that bill like they did on TV, and I saw it on TV, it's just despicable to see that happen.
It is, because life is precious.
I believe it's Satan. I believe it's Satan getting the hook in people. I believe that's what it is.
Well,
it has to be.
That's certainly a possibility. Seeing as you brought this topic up, in Vermont in 2016, I don't know if that's the last available figures or not, but there were 1,298 abortions in Vermont in 2016. Mm-hmm. Planned Parenthood is committing more than 330,000 abortions a year, one every 95 seconds.
And why are they using my tax dollars to do that?
And
well,
you know what they're doing? They're selling those fetuses and they're making millions of dollars.
The body parts.
They're selling the body parts.
That is disgusting. And
so now if they can do them when they're 9 months, think of the hearts and the livers and all the stuff that they're going to get a lot more money.
It makes me sick to even think about.
Well, didn't they give a lot of money to the political party like Hillary Clinton, Planned Parenthood? Didn't they give like millions of dollars? Where's this millions of dollars come from?
I don't know, but
I think it's from selling body parts.
Well, I
don't know for sure, but that's what I'm thinking. How could they have millions of dollars to give away?
These are little babies, little children with, who knows? They could be an Albert Einstein, or maybe they just bring joy to life. It's such a horrific thing. More than $500 million of taxpayer money through government grants goes to Planned Parenthood. The state of Vermont, I think I'm correct when I say, gives $500,000. And you probably both know that the Medical Center Hospital of Vermont is now doing abortions. And I am told, but if anyone knows better, please call in the show. The program's on the screen. By the way, we love to hear from you. That they are now using body parts as well, or whatever they're doing with them. So Planned Parenthood is about abortions and money. Absolutely. It's not, when they say, oh, it's women's health. Well, if you think abortion is women's health, when I sat on the Health and Welfare Committee in the legislature, we had testimony from women who had had abortions. It was heartbreaking. I have chills. They wondered all through the rest of their lives, what would my child have been like? How would my child have looked? What would my child be interested in for a lifetime of work or whatever? They kept wondering all the time. It ate away at them, and that they had a big regret for the rest of their lives, and there was nothing they could do to change that.
No. I think that tide is changing too a little bit. I think that there's more pro-lifers now than there is non-pro-lifers, and I think more people are starting to, believe that is not the way to go.
It's a little human life. And now I think there's something in the legislature that has to do with aborting animals or not allowing this to happen to animals in this state, or using body. I don't know. I have to read up on that. I don't want to say the wrong thing. But anything else you want to say about that particular?
Well, I believe the state of Vermont is trying to follow what they did over there. There was a bunch of women picketing Montpelier this past weekend, Saturday, I believe.
Oh, there were 500 people there.
500 people. It was huge, and because Vermont is trying to follow the same thing that New York's doing.
Yeah, it was anti-abortion or pro-life, I should say.
Yeah. I would think that would just be a private issue between a person. It's got to be a hard enough issue to go through, and like you said, it's going to be regrettable for a lot. But I just can't imagine. I'm going to go down to the State House and I'm going to protest to give abortions and kill as many babies as we can. I mean, why would you do that? Why would you go and protest be pro-abortion?
No, they were anti-abortion.
Oh, they were anti-abortion.
They were pro-life.
Mm-hmm. But there's a lot of these groups that are marching for pro-abortion.
Well, how did we get here?
I don't know.
There's so little respect for so many of the principles and the foundations of what we grew up with. Mm-hmm. And now I would like to have our state government unfund Planned Parenthood.
Me too.
Oh, definitely.
When I found out that the hospital in Burlington was now performing abortions, I wrote a letter to a woman who, I can't remember her name, but she's a big part of the overseeing the organization. And I said, at one time, I was an RN, proud to work at the medical center. And I said, I have always thought of the hospital, any hospital, as being a place of healing and life-saving. And to think that our hospital there in Burlington is now performing abortions, and I believe doing the body part thing, that it's disgusting to me. And I have a feeling that you may be losing some business, general healthcare business, because of this decision. And the woman who is running that, I believe, worked for Planned Parenthood. So where have we come? A place for healing and life-saving is now killing babies.
Well, I'm sure you saw on the news yesterday, and I think this is for the young people watching, if we have some young viewers, who maybe don't know exactly what socialism is. Mm-hmm. And I watched that Kamala Harris from California, the one who tried to destroy Brett Kavanaugh, to say she was running for president, and at her rally state how free education for everybody, free health care for everybody. And if you don't know what socialism is, it's basically government powers taking your money and telling you what you can have and what you can't have. And if you want to research it, look at Venezuela, one of the richest countries in the world, oil-rich country, is now on the verge of a civil war.
Bernie praised it. Bernie Sanders praised Venezuela 3 years ago. That was his blueprint on socialism. And look where they are today.
So basically, what it means is, if you are somebody who, as a young person, wants to advance yourself or try to better yourself, it means if you work overtime at your shop, or you become an entrepreneur and do your own thing, or whatever it is you do to try and earn extra money, you're not going to be able to keep it. You are going to have to give it to the government officials, and I can tell you, they are not going to change their lifestyle. They're going to continue to live the way they are, and they're going to tell you what you need and what you don't need. And if you want to live under that type of thing,
move there.
Then that's the place you should go. But you have people like Kamala Harris, who are running for president of the United States, who wants this in this country. And it has never worked. One more thing. That is why China and Russia is trying to interfere in Venezuela, because they are communist countries. And they want us out of Venezuela. They don't like us there. They like Venezuela and the way it runs, because they like to control and dictate their people. Well,
socialism is about government control and redistribution of wealth. And so it takes away all incentive and motivation to excel and become an entrepreneur and build your own business and hire other people. It's all about government control of everything. And if you watch today what's happening in our country, it's more and more government takeover, unless we the people, as I say every week, folks, on this show, unless we start waking up in a hurry and standing up like they did in Montpelier for the pro-life march, and speaking out about what we're going to accept and what we're not going to accept.
Well, it sounds good to get free education, but as my mother always told me, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably isn't. And it isn't good, because anybody who wants to improve their lives, I think Jim here works very hard, has his own business. I know when I was a young man, I worked as much overtime as I could to get ahead, and then ran my own business for several years. And, why would I do it if I was just going to have to give it away? I mean, you got Cortez over here in New York, the newly elected freshman congresswoman, who thinks that 70 to 80% tax rate is a fair tax rate.
For the wealthy.
So we can take care of ringworm in Alabama. I don't even know. Is there a ringworm problem going on down in Alabama? Because I'm not really sure.
That's what she says.
Send them some rubbing alcohol. That'll take care of it.
Well,
if they don't have it.
If you live in a society where, some of these countries like China and so forth, where government is all encompassing, then they may educate you, but they're going to educate you in a field where they need you to be working, and they're going to tell you what kind of work you're going to do. Freedom is gone.
Oh, totally.
Exactly. And then not only that, they're going to take your resources and they're going to redistribute them back to you.
And Bernie talks about Great Britain, not Great Britain, but Europe. Well, you have Denmark and you have Sweden and several other nations there. Those people can't even afford to buy a vehicle.
No.
They can't afford to buy their own homes because the government takes 70% of whatever you earn. And so what kind of a life is that? Where's the incentive?
Oh, I had this young college kid says to me, Jim, don't you think we should have free healthcare like they have in Canada? I says, I'm glad you brought that up because let me tell you how that works. I said, you see that field across the street? Say I gave you $100 to go rake that. I was going to pay you $100 to go rake that field. And you went over and you worked hard and you raked that field. And at the end of the day, I handed you $45. Would you be upset? He goes, yes. I go, well, you better start thinking about what you're preaching because that's what you're preaching because that's your free health care. You pay for it.
Yep.
They take 55% of what you make in Canada. So I guess you better think twice about what you preach.
A lot of things sound good until you understand the details.
Well, the details also, to add to that, what he's talking about, you can't decide when you're going to have that operation, who you're going to get for a doctor. They're going to decide whether you're sick enough to have that operation or not.
They come here. The Canadians come down here. If they have a major medical problem, they come to the United States because they can't get taken care of in Canada.
Well, I know.
There's a huge line.
I understand that. And our healthcare system is changing. A lot of things are going now. We have this One Care Vermont, and that's scary to me. A lot of doctors are leaving their private practices. They have to take people who, like on Medicaid or whatever, that doesn't pay much, and they can't afford the overhead of running their office and paying the rent and, paying their staff and all that. So they are either, if they're older, they're retiring, or they are going to work for a hospital, or they're leaving the state.
Right.
And so pretty soon, I wonder if we're going to have any private doctors to go and see.
Well,
two of my doctors have left that I've had. They've left.
3 of mine have left.
Well, it used to be you had a doctor for your life. Now it's like, oh, by the way, your doctor is going, you're getting a new one. But to add to that, I had surgery a few years ago, and I think we're pretty blessed with our medical system. I don't want to insult it or, say anything bad about it, but I will say this. I got called to pre-register. Okay. So I pre-registered. Mm-hmm. So I get to the hospital. And it's like, come on in here, we need to get some information from you. Well, didn't you already just get all this information from me? Because it's the same information you asked me on the phone. I mean, you must have computer systems in here. Yeah, but we just need to get this information. Now, you need to go over to that room there, and you need to check in. And I sit down, and a lady comes out and says, we got to get some information from you. And it's the same exact information again. And I'm thinking to myself, couldn't that lady just send it over here? 3 times. Not only did I get pre-registration, but 3 times in the hospital, the same information was asked of me before I actually got the surgery.
Wow.
And I'm thinking to myself, we're talking about the expense of the medical system, and I know these nurses work hard and they do a good job, but It's like, who's running the administration here? We're asking an individual the same exact question 3 different times from 3 different people.
Mm-hmm. Well, efficiency is important. For the patient as well as for the cost of doing business. I understand they want to make sure that they have the information. I don't know what the problem was, to tell you the truth, but I had an instance just last week where I went to a facility and I had a call to pre-register, and that was all done. And then when I went into the desk, the woman started asking me questions, and she said, "Oh, you've pre-registered." It was all there. So I said, "Yes, I did." She says, "Go and sit down," So whether that was just a freaky thing or whether, nothing's perfect, but it is frustrating when something like that happens. And I went one time to my doctor's office, and being who I am, I went in with my list of things to bring to her attention. And she said, "Linda, let me see your list." So I gave her the list, and I like her. She's a good doctor. And she said, "You're going to have to pick some priorities here." She said, "I have other patients waiting. You get your so many minutes, and, unless you have an annual, and then they allow more time." So, it's like a machine, people coming through.
Well, I think we got a good medical system. I mean, there's no question about that.
It's better than a lot of others.
It's better than a lot of places, no question. Like he's
talking
about Canada. But
it's changing.
I think there's some things in the medical industry that could be changed to make it more affordable, that so other people could afford to have it, so it wouldn't be so costly.
Well, this brings up another thought. You've heard about Bernie's Medicare for All?
Yeah, well, that's
we have a caller. Caller, welcome to the program.
Well, I had to call in because I knew this was the real strong Republican show.
Who that is?
Not when you call. Thanks for checking in. What's going through your mind?
Well, I went to Aruba a couple years ago. On the island of Aruba, 30% of your income pays. Was it Aruba? Bonaire. Okay, Bonaire. My wife just corrected me. 30% of your income is used for medical. It's also used for daycare. And on that island, you cannot hire anybody off the island. You have to hire all the people on the island to do your work, to build a house or whatever you're building. And the kids, if they stay in high school, they can go to college, and their college is paid for. They have a college on the island. If you drop out of high school, you automatically go in the armed forces for 2 years. And if you get in trouble on the island, a minor misdemeanor, you get one warning. You get another misdemeanor, you get a one-way ticket off the island, and you don't come back. So I thought that was quite something. Of course, it's a Dutch colony, so that's one of the reasons why they do it over there, to control the people and control the population.
Well, and the people know where they stand. They know what the rules are. And if you choose to abide by the rules, then you're not in trouble. But if you don't, then you are in trouble. But that is an example of government control. And I think can be a fine balance between over control of the people and, like with our immigration system. We wouldn't have the problems that we're having right now if we enforced our immigration laws.
Well, he hit on a valid point, I think. And he says, if you get a second misdemeanor, you're thrown off the island. And I think that's where we've gone off the edge here, is we don't have any consequences for anything anymore.
Right.
And that, to me, when we were in school, I remember the day of getting the paddle back in the 4th grade. Now, a lot of people disagree with that, but I can tell you, you got whacked in the front of that class, you didn't do it again.
If you don't have consequences, you don't have control. People don't respect the powers that be or the laws or whatever. If they're, it's okay, Johnny, you didn't mean to do it. Well, Johnny, you did it, and it was wrong, and there are consequences.
Exactly.
Period.
All they had to say to me is, I'll call your father. I'd say, please don't do that.
Yeah, so what did you think of that system?
Well, back when I was growing up, my mother and father told me, mind your P's and Q's, get good grades in school, and you'll do something in life. Also, the fact that, my father said to me, I asked him, I said, can I have an increase in my allowance? And he says, no, you're going to earn it. He gave me a rake and told me to go up and rake Mrs. Nelson's lawn on Diamond Street. That was the best thing, because ever since then I've worked for whatever I have in life, and I felt my father brought me up the right way. One time.
You bet. I was raised the same way.
So wasn't I.
no, you don't complete the to-do list, and you don't get your 50 cents allowance, period.
He must be another conservative, ain't he?
Well, you know, I've had discussions with Mr. Durfee at where he works. So we had to walk away from each other once in a while.
let the cooler heads prevail.
Hey, when I was a kid, when it snowed, I took a snow shovel and I went from door to door shoveling driveways. I make $10. And I'll tell you right now, you don't see any kids doing that today. What, you know?
You know, work ethic, parenting is such a crucial aspect of what happens in a nation or in a community or in a family. Parenting is just so critically important. There need to be rules of the family, okay? And the children need to know what the rules are. And if you don't abide by the rules, then there's a consequence. And it doesn't need to be cruel. It needs to be meaningful.
Well, Linda, I want to give you a compliment. I don't give you compliments too often. After the legislative breakfast, you know, you did a good job out there.
Oh, thank you so much. That's very sweet of you. I appreciate it. Well, you know me, Dave. I usually have something to say.
Yeah, well, I just like your whole panel. If they got something to say, I know they'll say it. That's the same way I am. You know, I don't believe in saying it behind their back. I'll say it to their face.
I agree. I'm not afraid.
Yeah, that's why some people don't like me.
Well, they probably aren't too fond of me either, but maybe they don't like you so much, but hopefully they respect you.
I think everybody likes you, Linda.
Aw.
Well, thanks for taking my phone call. I'll get off.
Anytime, Dave.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Yeah, Dave calls in just about every week, which I appreciate.
That's something we should be
I think
discussing.
we should talk about the wall.
I was going to say the same. That was the words coming out of my
Go
mouth.
for it.
Let's talk about the wall.
Go for it.
We got 60,000 people a month walking across our border. We need a wall.
Amen.
Well, you know, the thing of it is I'm not going to say people that I know that are Democrats or liberals or whatever, but our Democratic senators and congressmen, they must get on the phone with each other because it's immoral. It's a vanity wall. And everybody, every single one of them talks exactly the same
talking
points as nobody is an individual. You telling me out of all those Congress people in Washington and out of all those senators in Washington, not a one of them thinks differently than the other one? And it's like, unfortunately, there's just a few people who control the strings, and these people have to get in line or they're cleaning the bathrooms down there or something.
They get the talking points.
And it's like, why can't people be individuals
and think for yourself?
That's kind of one of the reasons that I don't consider myself necessarily a Republican anymore, as I consider myself a conservative. Because, you know, the reality is we had the House, the Senate, and the White House, and we didn't get a bill across the table. And I don't understand why we didn't, because we should have. Paul Ryan should have brought a bill to the floor, but they were bickering in their own party, same way they're doing in the Democratic Party. But this stuff of, you're getting $1. The thing that irks me the most about it is, whether you like it or not, President Trump won the presidency. And Barack Obama's own words are, elections have consequences.
Amen.
Okay? So he ran on the wall. And he's asking for what? I don't even know what the percentage, but it's so small of the national budget to build that wall. And it's like, you telling me that a fence doesn't work? People cannot get across through that fence.
Yes.
Drones? What good is a drone going to do? All it's going to do is tell them, oh, hey, there's somebody going across the line.
And then, yeah, they do dig.
Don't walls work out of jail?
Yeah.
They do. They work real well.
They work at the Vatican. They work in China.
Yeah.
Then you're called a racist because you want people. I'm all for people coming here. I don't care if you're black, blue, pink, white, red, yellow. I don't care.
I don't either.
Listen, I think there's a wall in heaven, isn't there? There's a pearly gate. You got to go through the gate to get into heaven. They didn't let Charles Manson just walk in.
That's true.
Come legally. That's all we ask. We actually need these people to fill these jobs and stuff. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I'm not against it. But it's like, I want to know who's coming into this country.
Respect our laws, respect our people, and come legally. Absolutely. And that demonstrates that your will is a positive one. And you know what? the people who don't want a wall and just want all of these, what are they called? All these groups that are coming through. What do they, starts with?
Oh, is MS-13? Is everybody coming through?
The immigrants talking about?
Yeah, but the whole slew of them.
Caravans?
Caravan, thank you. There's nothing that a drone, like you say, is going to do except alert the guys on the ground that there are people trying to come through. They dig under, but if you have the kind of a wall that I've seen on TV where the metal goes down, pretty far into the ground,
right?
They won't be able to dig. But the point is about immigration. If you want illegal immigration, then you want multiculturalism. We have a culture in this country. The culture is constitutional.
That's correct.
All right? Mm-hmm. And we live under a constitutional republic in this country. And that means that we have a set of laws that say what the government's job is, and that the government is to respect the will of the people with the consent of the people to do their business. And when you have people from other cultures coming here illegally who don't understand our laws, don't respect our laws, speak other languages, do you know that our government is printing all kinds of documents, driver's exams, and all different kinds of things, registration forms, in 30 languages. Mm-hmm. Now think of the money this is a small point, but think of the money that could be saved if our governments and our states aren't having to print documents in 30 languages.
Well, even that, once they put a foot on American soil, we have to deal with them. And whether they're going to stay or go, the millions and billions of dollars that it cost for us to have to deal with this system, that costing the taxpayers.
Education, healthcare, housing, you name it.
Look at Winooski.
Yeah.
Well, you take what Trump offered the Democrats here just recently. I mean, it's just a power struggle. And I don't know about you guys, but I am sick of the power struggle. I want these people to come together, sit down at a table like adults, and negotiate something that's fair for both sides.
Yeah. Well, they were all running. When Nancy Pelosi was running, Schumer was running, they all said we need a wall.
They said
we need a wall. And they raised money for the wall.
$40 billion.
The fact is that they won't give it. It's because it's Donald Trump asking for it. That's the only reason.
Well, you know something?
He's our president. Too bad.
I got news for him.
Go ahead.
All of these liberals and left wingers and everything. If I was going to bet some money, Donald Trump's going to win in a landslide next time. So get over it.
Too.
Because I'm going to tell you something. People vote from their pocketbooks. Okay? Yeah. And when people look at their 401ks or, their job or when things are going good, they're not going to rock the boat. And I'm going to tell you, unless something drastic happens, this man's getting elected in a landslide like you've never seen before.
Oh, there's no doubt about it.
I pray for our president and his family and our vice president and his family every single night, because we know they are a threat to those who want socialism, multiculturalism, all the things we've talked about, taking more money from out of your paycheck. This is, here we go. I don't know where this came from. Capitalism is freedom. Socialism is slavery.
It's total slavery.
The society that puts equality before freedom will end up with neither. The society that puts freedom before equality will end up with a great measure of both. Milton Friedman, who was an economist, a very well-known economist in this country, if there's ever a fascist takeover in America, it will come not in the form of stormtroopers kicking down doors, but with lawyers and social workers saying, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
You know, I'd like to bring up another thing that I'm sitting here thinking about, why I'm thinking about. You got to wonder, Como on CNN,
Governor?
Don Lemon on CNN, Morning Joe on MSNBC. Every day, it's the same story. We got him. We got Donald Trump. The walls are closing in on him. Oop, that story was wrong. Next day, we got him. Oop, that story was wrong.
When the election?
With BuzzFeed. Well, just the one they just had with BuzzFeed. I mean,
I don't watch those channels.
Do they ever get to I only turn CNN on if I'm like depressed a little bit and I want to get a laugh. I turn it on so I can be overjoyed of the stupidity that comes off that show. But do they ever get to the point where are they so into themselves that they just don't get the point that we are wrong every single day on this issue with this collusion? I mean, when's the collusion ever going to come up?
I think they just come from a different world mindset. And I just don't think they're either getting paid to say those things, which they probably are, or they just plain don't get it.
Can you be that
the whole collusion thing, Donald Trump was going to build a building in Russia. Well, as soon as he ran for president, it ended. That's what it's all about. Hillary Clinton sold 20% of our uranium to Russia. That's collusion. She got $150 or $148 million that went into the Clinton Foundation.
And isn't it funny?
But it's funny they don't care about that. That sounds like collusion to me.
We care. Yeah, she's selling our nations
to our enemy.
Yes, and that's nuclear material.
To make a nuclear bomb, that's our enemy.
Yeah, I know. Well, she did a lot of things wrong. She's a criminal as far as I'm concerned. But
well, haven't you noticed that the foundation is no longer getting any money so much anymore?
No, I don't.
That it's pretty well drying up, the foundation.
Well, there's plenty of money.
Because there's no power anymore.
There's plenty of money there, though.
Well, I'm sure there is.
Well, they made a bundle when she was Secretary of State. Oh, yeah. Who knows what she might have done.
Well, her daughter spent $3 million for a wedding, and all the money came out of the Clinton Foundation. How come they don't pay taxes on that?
I just don't know.
If you took $3 million out of your account, if you had it, wouldn't you have to pay taxes on that?
I'm thinking you would.
You know, there's a certain role for government and I think we would all agree to this, in as far as giving some support to people who really need it. If they're maybe totally unable to work because of some major illness or whatever.
Or a situation came up that was uncontrollable to them.
Yes.
An accident, anything.
Yes.
Well, look at Hillary. If you got a subpoena to give your emails and you delete 30,000 emails after you got that, what
does that tell you?
What would they do to you?
Well, look what they did to Roger Stone. They went down there with 27 ATF agents.
They didn't do anything to her.
I don't know. Why are we spending so much money on these Mueller investigations? I think it's all a farce.
Well, they didn't go after Hillary because they're all Democrats. Democrats don't go after each other.
Well, here's another thing that we know, the three of us, I'm sure, recognize, that the Obama administration planted a lot of Democrats, I'll say, socialists in government departments.
To protect them.
And to foil the next administration and to keep their goals functioning. And that's, I think, one of the reasons why some of the people have been let go from the administration, but I think they're a lot more embedded in different departments of government. I want us to get rid of the Department of Education at the national level. I think that education should be something that's done locally and maybe with a little bit of input, but not control from the state government. These are our children, and the children are the future of our country. And if they don't learn the founding principles of this country, they're not going to stand up for them. And they're going to be sold a bill of goods by people who say, oh, we'll give you free education.
Well, these teachers are pushing socialism on our kids, and they need to stop being political in our schools. That needs to stop. It needs to stop.
The thing of it is I agree we have to educate our children and stuff, but if they don't come up with a system, because they can't just keep giving somebody a $300, $400, $500 property tax increase every single year. I mean, where does that end? I mean, at what point do you say I can't? Okay,
well, everybody's leaving.
They
when
are.
you retire, you leave. You have to leave because you can't afford it.
I mean, my brother's living in a beautiful log cabin down in North Carolina, paying $1,100.
Really?
For property taxes just outside of Asheville and country just like this.
Oh, beautiful.
I got a friend right now. They're trying to sell their house. They're retired and they're moving to Kentucky. They're finding beautiful places in Kentucky, and they got with land with beautiful barns. Taxes are $600 a year.
Yep. Well, what are we getting for what we're paying for?
Well, the thing of it is, I mean, I want to stay in Vermont if I can. I mean, I've lived here for 50 years. And but the thing of it is, I know I came here when I was 10. So yes, I am older than that for sure.
Oh, shush.
I don't look it though. But anyways, I want to stay here. But I mean, if there's no kind of some kind of a guarantee put in place to say, okay, this is where it ends, and now you can fix your budget so you can have a fixed income. I mean, you're going to have to look at resources. You're going to have to look at other alternatives so that you can survive, because people are going to make sure they survive.
Well, people need to stop voting for Democrats in Vermont, because how long the Democrats been in power? Look at our taxes. They don't care. They don't care.
And the thing is, they're adding more and more programs.
Look at this carbon tax.
Yep, I was just digging.
They're all pushing for this carbon tax. That's 80 cents a gallon. 40 cents a gallon on your propane on your house. Now, if our gas goes up 80 cents a gallon, that's not just your gas. Your food at the grocery store is going to go up.
Oh, yeah.
Restaurants is going to go up.
Costs more to transport.
Everything across the board is going to go up. Nobody's going to be able to afford to live here. If they pass that carbon tax, I'm selling my business, I'm selling my house, and I'm moving to Kentucky.
Well, you may not be able to.
Well, that's it. People may not want to move here, and then we're stuck.
Right.
As far as selling house. Now, they want to subsidize electric cars now. Did you hear that one?
Well, they do that already, don't they? There was a big tax credit if you bought I guess not an electric car, but a hybrid. Didn't you get a pretty good tax credit if you bought one of those?
Okay, but I addressed this at the legislative meeting yesterday. I said, if a product has a value to the consumer, they will buy it. If it doesn't have a value to the consumer, they'll shun it. They won't buy it.
Right.
So why are we forcing the taxpayers to subsidize a product?
Well, that's like like solar. I mean, solar is not a profitable item. You can live off the grid and do different things like that, but I mean, that's kind of something that gets me too in the state. I mean, everybody has their views on different things. Windmills don't really bother me. I would not want to see them do what they did over in New York, over in Ellenburg and stuff like that. They went crazy over there.
I know.
They don't particularly necessarily bother me. Maybe others they do. But I don't understand why, I know one thing. When I drive by a solar field, like out there at the Four Corners in Alberg and stuff like that is nothing. I mean, we had our billboards took down on our interstates because they were ugly.
Unsightly.
Well, I'm telling you something right now. A billboard's a lot nicer to look at than these solar fields.
Yes, and tourism is one of the biggest money raisers for the state of Vermont. Mm-hmm. And I want to know who's going to come here and look at big fields full of solar panels.
You go down Route 7 to Middlebury.
Oh, it's
all
awful.
Them fields that's all they are.
It's all solar panels down there.
So is that going to attract people to come to Vermont and spend money?
It's ugly, and it isn't profitable.
One nice windmill would do what all them solar panels are doing.
Okay, here's a question. And I don't know if you have an answer, but if you have a field full of solar panels, maybe farmers are leasing their land for these things in some cases. And what happens when the life expectancy of these is gone?
They got to replace them.
They're only good for about 20 years. Here's another question I have, and I don't know the answer to this question.
Wait a minute. Well, excuse me.
I'm sorry.
I'm controlled by my my waste, the company that picks up my trash, okay, about what I can put in recycling and everything. I have to divide stuff up. So what are you going to do with massive numbers of solar panels when they're no longer functional? Where are those going? And who's going to be responsible for that?
I don't have the answer to that question.
No, I don't
But
either.
this is a question I have, and I don't know the specifics of it. But I know we had a thing in this state, and I'm not saying that this is what's happening, but I'm asking. We had a land trust where we bought a lot of the farmland up so that it could stay in agriculture for the the rest of eternity, I guess.
They paid farmers, right?
Paid farmers for the land trust, which, okay, so that's fine. We did that. So our tax dollars paid for that. Are we putting these solar fields on these fields that were bought up in the land trust? I'd like to know the answer to that question, because if that is so, why are we putting solar fields on land that was supposed to be farmland?
I don't know. Anybody out there listening who can answer the question, feel free to call in. In the meantime, what do you think about having a voter ID law?
We should.
Definitely. Why wouldn't you know?
We have to show an ID for everything. We have to show an ID to get on a plane. We got to show an ID whatever we do.
We need to make sure that only legitimate U.S. citizens vote in our elections.
Mm-hmm.
And why would that be a problem? I don't get. Why would anybody think that would be a problem?
Well, it's a problem if you want illegal.
I know. What I'm saying. Why would anybody be against that?
Well, there are a lot of people.
I don't know if I misunderstood this or not, but over in New York, they're allowing 15-year-old kids to vote.
No, I think there was something about somewhere they wanted. I don't know if it was in California. I heard something, but it was 16-year-olds they wanted to legalize for them to vote on some stuff.
No.
They don't have a clue what to vote on. They're only voting on what some liberal teacher told them to vote on.
Well, I know a lot of people will hate me for this one, but I think if you don't pay taxes, you shouldn't be allowed to vote.
Well, that was a poll.
I agree with that 100%.
Years ago, it was a poll tax, right? I think
if you're collecting welfare, you shouldn't be allowed to vote, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, that's a toughie. That is a toughie. It's worth thinking about. But I think we need a photo ID, and this same-day voter registration is so unfair to the town clerks. If I come into the polling place and I say I want to register to vote, the town clerk has no time to investigate.
California's letting illegals vote.
I know. So what's happening to our country?
We can't go to Mexico and vote.
We're talking about a lot of problems, okay? And the only reason I like to do that is because I want to make sure that people understand what's going on.
California shouldn't be allowed to vote on our presidential elections, not when they're letting illegals vote. They shouldn't be allowed to.
Well, I thought it was the thing I had heard. I don't know if, and again, I don't have specific facts on this, but they were going to let them vote on the school budgets because their kids were.
They were going to let them vote on local issues.
Right. But I'm sorry, no.
Well, do you have some skin in the game? Oh, by the way, can either one of you answer this? Renters get a rental rebate.
Yeah, even if they're on welfare.
Do they pay rent?
No, the state's paying it, and they get a renter's rebate and get to keep the money.
I don't understand that.
I don't know the answer to that.
If you don't pay rent, you don't get a renter's rebate.
That's when they all go out and buy a new car every year. They get all this money back, and they go out and they go to like rent-a-centers and buy TVs and all, or whatever. But I'm telling you, they get a renter's rebate. They do get a renter's rebate.
I can't.
I don't know that.
And their welfare's paying for their rent, and they yeah.
Okay, we're down to about 9 minutes or so. So, there's a war on religious freedom in our U.S. military?
Yeah.
Under the Obama administration, there were all kinds of changes that went on. Let me see. Fostered by an atheist pressure group, Department of Defense bureaucrats made it a crime for chaplains and soldiers to share their Christian faith, punishable by court-martial and possible imprisonment. In 2011, Walter Reed National Military Medical Center banned Bible reading at its service hospital until pressured to reverse the policy. the Air Force Academy, under atheist pressure, removed the words, "So help me God," from the sacred oath sworn by Academy recruits.
My thing is,
that's not good.
if you're an atheist, if that's what you want to believe in, then why
ACLU?
Why push your agenda on everybody else?
Yeah, exactly. Why do you go to push your agenda?
Because Christianity is fundamental to the founding principles of this country. They want to get rid of that. The ACLU doesn't want a prayer at a town meeting. A lot of the towns have given it up.
Did you see when one of these Muslims that got elected senator, when she was taking her oath, Pence was giving her oath, she refused to do it on a Bible?
Yes.
So he grabbed a law book.
Yep.
And she did it on a law book. But she was so stupid, the law books are written off the Bible. They're written off the Constitution,
That's
right?
True. Yeah.
And so
yeah, I know.
If they don't want to take their oath on our Bible,
well,
then,
they're not Christians.
Then they can't. They shouldn't be allowed to be a senator.
One of them is from Palestine, right? Or is friendly to Palestine, I should say, which is anti-Israel. Okay, let's see. Should English be the official language of the United States?
Most definitely.
Absolutely.
32 states have made English the official language of their state. Why aren't we doing that?
I don't care if
because we got liberals down there in Montpelier. Here they won't
do
that.
What if we rose up like the other side does?
I don't care if they use their language, that's fine. But if you're going to go in our schools and stuff like that, you're going to learn the English language.
The Winooski school, they teach 30 different languages. They have to have teachers 30 different languages at Winooski school. That's something. We pay for that.
I know. Well, my view is that if you come to this country, before you're eligible to enter our school system,
learn English.
You must know English. Yep. Whoever brings you here, whether it's some organization, they should be responsible for making sure you know English. That'll cut a big portion out of the school budget for the taxpayers. I have a lot of ideas, but nobody seems to.
I just don't know where we got to this place. I mean, I never even thought twice about it when you were a kid, saying the Pledge of Allegiance or singing the national anthem or anything of that nature. I mean, and why wouldn't you want to? I mean, why wouldn't you take some pride in your country? Are you that shameful of your country that you don't want to respect your flag, or you don't want to respect?
Yeah, but it's more than that. You're respecting everybody that died to give you the freedom that you have today.
Exactly, I know that.
Oh, we have a caller. Welcome to the program.
Yes, I had to call in the second time.
Go. What do you have to say?
Anybody comes to the United States and becomes a U.S. citizen should speak the English language. In reference to the wall, I know you and your two people on your panel tonight support the wall. I do not support the wall.
Really?
The reason why is that Donald Trump, during his campaign, said that he was going to make Mexico pay for the wall. And in my opinion, Mexico should pay for the wall, not the United States citizens. That is...
I think, Dave, I think that he didn't mean that they were going to cost.
They are in a way.
They are because he made
They are in a way because he's bringing back all the companies that left here to Mexico. They're all coming back.
Plus, he made a better trade deal.
Some people took him too literally.
GM is going back to Mexico.
Who is?
General Motors. They closed the factory. How many factories?
Well, we don't want to drive that junk anyway. We drive Fords.
Oh, stop. I don't. I never thought when the president said that Mexico would pay for the wall, I never thought he meant they were going to fork over, a checkbook filled with.
Hey, Dave, I'd like to say something.
Go.
You can keep your doctor and you can keep your health insurance. Do you remember that one? How come that was okay? What's your answer?
What's my answer? Well,
yeah, I mean, it was okay for Obama to spread lies when he campaigned. You can keep your doctor and keep your insurance.
But I don't...
Talk to the people in Texas and have the ranchers down there when they're seeing the people walk across their land constantly, coming across. They're just walking across our borders. We need a wall.
The thing is, the president's a businessman, and he meant, I knew it from the time he said it.
Me too.
I didn't take him literally, that things will follow, that Mexico will lose, how do I say this?
The businesses that left here are coming back. Most of them are coming back.
A lot of them are.
And
because of tariffs.
Yeah, tariffs, right. They're going to pay for it one way or another.
One way, they're paying that way. They're losing the industry.
I can tell you right now, they're losing some money too, having to keep all those people across the other side of the border right now.
Well, you know what? Why hasn't anybody said to Mexico, why do you have your southern border wide open?
Well, did you see what happened? They said they were going to stop it, and they were down there with cameras, and nobody was at the border when that last caravan came across. It was wide open. They walked right through. There was nobody even there.
So why do they allow this to happen? You know, are they working in concert with our liberals in this country?
We can either do a wall or we can put sniper towers. If you walk across this line, you will be shot.
Now that's him saying
what
that.
I'm worried about, if we put up that wall, that Home Depot will build a 40-foot ladder instead of a 30. Thank you very much.
They're going to make it a bug zapper. They're going to make it like a bug zapper. When they touch the wall, they're going to zap like a bug zapper.
Thanks, Dave.
Bye.
Always enjoy. Well, we're down to the last 3-4 minutes. So let's see. Sanctuary cities.
They're garbage. They should have no credibility. They shouldn't. They
need to work with federal.
That's right. They shouldn't get any federal money. Any state that has sanctuary cities shouldn't get any federal money.
And
they're breaking the laws.
I agree. And we have a sort of a sanctuary system here.
Burlington, Winooski and Burlington.
Because the governor wants to have a say as to whether we work with ICE or not. And I think...
Our governor's a Democrat.
Law enforcement is law enforcement.
Our governor's a Democrat running on a Republican ticket.
Well, he's a Republican light.
Light. Yeah, he's a Democrat.
Okay. Any last-minute comments? Because we're closing in.
Well, both my daughter and my daughter's boyfriend, he works for ICE and she works for TSA. They've both been there quite a long time. So I hope that this doesn't come to the situation again. I mean, I felt kind of bad for them. They were, almost a month without a paycheck. They just bought a new house and,
Hey, I have a whole crew of Mexicans going to start this year. They're all legals. They come here on work visas, and they're all roofers. They work hard, and they work from sunrise to sunset. And I'm going to have the best year I ever had.
So they have
work visas. They're here on work visas. They come here.
Okay, but those are only for so many months.
That's right, and they get replaced with other ones. So this is a great thing. These people come over here and they work. But they're over here the right way. They're not coming and walking across the border. They're here on work visas. And they're very family-oriented people. They send their money home. They go back to visit their families.
That's a problem because billions of dollars are being sent back to Mexico by workers.
We can't get people here to work. We need them.
Okay.
Well, we do need workers.
We need them.
I know.
We can't find...
But they're not on any programs, right? They don't get food stamps. They don't get health
they do
care,
not. They're here. They come here.
Are we educating their children?
No, their children are over in Mexico, and these guys come over on work visas and they work, but they go home. They go home. So there's nothing wrong with work visas because those people come here and they work hard. They're very family-oriented.
As long as we keep track and we know when they're, because we don't keep track of visas.
Right. Well,
and in this country, and many people overstay them, whether they're education.
We can't find anybody here to work. Nobody can. Look at everybody I know.
I'll tell you what. If they're given an ultimatum, you either work or you're off welfare. You don't get housing. You don't get food. You don't get.
No, they're not going to do. Liberals aren't going to do that, though.
Okay, we're down to no more time.
That's it.
Thank you both.
Yep.
I'll have to have you back so that we can.
Please do.
Find some.
You know what you should do.
What?
Is should get Dave McWilliams come in here with us.
That's a good idea.
Huh?
If they'll let us have four.
We'll be like the five.
Okay, I got to wind it up. Okay, that's a good idea. You hear that, Dave? Okay, folks, thank you so much for tuning in. I know we did a lot of complaining about things that are going on, but they're all factual. They're all troublesome to our country. So have a great week. I'll see you next week.